So I do want to talk a minute about value and artwork. I have been making my own art and music since I was a young child, and I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm trying to explain something. There was a time when I was more fascinated by entertainers than, which is an art. Being an entertainer is an art. And so with that said, over time, my appreciation for aspects of the entertainment industry have developed, and I've learned different things, and there are good parts and there's bad parts. One, both good and bad part, kind of double-edged sword, is when you are like a kind of artist, musician, entertainer type. You have a sort of freedom because you're your own boss. You get to set the standards of what you put out there. But with that said, the people, the customer that you tend to need the money from also have standards, and where they get their standards from, you only have so much say over. And I will say a big, amount of people are influenced by the mainstream culture. Like, so recently I've found, I have this cookbook called Thug Kitchen, and then I found Snoop Dogg's, I found Snoop Dogg's channel for kids. And what I'm loving about this is it's the thing with this popular culture within the hip-hop rap realm is it really does have a huge influence on kids, like especially the big brother role that a lot of these male rappers, KRS-One, Snoop Dogg, there are countless like men, Tupac, Biggie. I didn't really get that into Tupac or Biggie until I understood more about politics and the politics of music and the way that people use their music to get their politics out. And Tupac is one, Rage Against the Machine, you got Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. They're all like, when you really start listening to what's being said, there's a huge conversation, a political conversation that different entertainers tend to have an effect on because they have a platform to speak about. Now, if you are just kind of like there's different, so the reason I was called to make this video to begin with is, I guess it's a empathy video. I don't know, like, it's not easy selling yourself. Like, it can almost and I've considered, and it's funny that the word selling yourself, where my heart goes is like sex work. Like, you're selling yourself. But no, like, you're like, just like, when you share a journal entry, a poem, it might not have any meaning to anybody, but it still has significance because it's a part of a deeper work and a deeper conversation. But this conversation is an internal soul conversation between the individual, yourself, and God. And then whereas like somebody like a musician or an entertainer who's on the social platform, this is a deeper conversation that involves the internal work of the individual, but it's speaking to the masses. It's using an external kind of point of reference, I guess you could say. Whereas an internal work is like your point of reference, really only you are going to understand in most cases. And that's why when you have synchronicities and stuff happen when you're doing inner work, it can be so profound because it is seems like such a secret or such a personal thing that nobody really would know about it. Okay, so if you decide to take that inner work that you're doing and try to make and sell your artwork, or your music, or it's very complicated. I guess it's just hard. It's just hard because I've had people say to me that they wouldn't pay $1 for my artwork. Okay, but that, it seems to me like that same person would have no problem hanging my artwork on their wall if I gave it to them, and that's a weird place to be. I've also had people, when I was sleeping outside at one point, I made some money selling haikus. I just wrote poems on these little nice pieces of cardboard that I had found, and I'd draw a feather on it, and I would hand it out to people, whether or not they paid me. And it was just this healing, it was a nice thing to do while I was living the way that I was. And some people paid me like $20. They'd hand me, a large sum of money for things that I couldn't even expect. There was like another time one guy once paid me for a piece of art. He wanted me to draw something for his wedding, and I considered that to this day one of the hardest pieces of artwork that I've ever had to do. It just never seemed good enough to me, and it was really hard for me to finish. I redid it over and over again, yet the ones that I was doing that I wasn't getting paid for were coming out of me like butter, and it was just like they looked really good to me and I loved them. So it's strange how when the money and the value gets involved, how things just suddenly change. And so I'm trying to think of other times when I've been paid for my art or music, and I can think of one open mic where this guy just like handed me a 20 at the end of it, and he was just like, keep going. And those kinds of moments really are meaningful. They really do mean something, because it isn't free to it takes it. You still have to work to be able, I don't know. And it's nice to be able to do things for free, When you take the money out of it, it changes things up. Don't make no mistake. I'm trying to think of other times where money's been involved with. I remember once sitting for 2 hours singing, and I made like $2. And it was just, it was just a crazy, because I was getting, and to be honest, I think that I was getting right within myself with some ideas of what value meant. What, here I was sitting on the side of the road, like, that doesn't cost much. Why should I be expecting anybody to be giving me money? I don't know. But with that said, I have given a lot of artwork that I do consider very good away, a lot of work that I consider very special and very good away, but I'm okay with it because I can't take it back, and I think that in a way it's just out there now and doing its thing. And in terms of like copywriting and all of that stuff, now I want to go back to what I was talking about earlier with those deeper conversations that are happening. When you are having a conversation, like in a lot of the music and art that I've made, it's been in response to other inspiration, other authors, poets, musicians. I'll hear a song and I'll get an idea and I will use that song because that's what makes the idea come out. But I'm not trying to make any money off of it. I'm just trying to make something that sounds actually really good. And that's actually really good. Like, if anything, I would want the original maker to be honored. I would want them to enjoy whatever I make. And but I would also, because of my background in school, like, it was kind of grinded into me from a young age, like, you don't copyright. Like, if you source from other people, whether you're writing a paper or whether you're doing a piece of artwork, you have to make note of where this is coming from. And I don't really mind doing that. In the middle of the performance, I might not necessarily stop and be like, oh, this is, where this is coming from. I might have to take note later, and then with that said, the copywriting thing, like, it's also tricky too, because you'll get people trying to get you to copyright yourself and to cite your own experience, and don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. You know your life. You know yourself better than anybody else, and when somebody's trying to, like, get you to reference your own yesteryears, like, don't even. And so when I was, the other thing I was getting at was that with copyright, it sucks. It sucks if somebody takes somebody's credit for somebody's work. But you know what? I think justice does come. I think if that kind of stuff happens, justice comes. If somebody's taking my work, there's going to come a day where they're going to have to come back to me to get more source. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something to it. And even, and I also, you know, you can use the example of a lot of rock music has its roots in the Deep South, from, you know, just some old man sitting on a front porch picking out his guitar, you know, turned into some, you know, $1 trillion song, and he never seen a dime off of it. That's not uncommon. And that's, I'm not sure how that's supposed to go down, because I think it's all real. It really depends. I really do think it really depends. And I think that's why it's easy to get caught up in that kind of like game of, you know, who owns what and where this is coming from. But if it's true art and true, you know, truth, and in regards to truth and love, and you know, it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be true, like on every level. You know, it might not make everybody comfortable, or it might not agree with everybody, but it's not going to hurt anybody, you know, ultimately. And so, like, with that copyright stuff, like, I know if I came up with it. And I've definitely found myself at points wondering, like, is this me doing this? And that's a really scary, but also, like, it's scary and a humbling place to be questioning your own, you know, is this, you know, I mean, you could ask yourself, is this God? Like, where is this coming from? Like, why is this coming out of me? I've had several moments where just stuff will come out of me that it's like, I would love to take credit for all of that, you know, but I don't know if I can, because it's just beyond me. It's like so far beyond me. And there's a reason why I try not to get too competitive when it comes to sharing my value. You know, it's like, so yeah, I think that like, so nowadays I've been doing like tarot work, and I've charged for a few readings, and I did the pricing based off of what I was seeing others doing online. I didn't really know what to charge, and I've also tried teaching yoga over the years, and I've had a struggle with the cost of things, but I'm gonna save that part for a different video, because I'll leave you with this story. I was in this art class, and I've mentioned it a few times on this channel. When I quit Adderall about 8 years ago, I ended up in this drawing course at a community college, and I just sat for a semester and drew, like, I mean, seriously, like 80 huge portraits that were very lifelike, black and white charcoal, some abstract ones, and it just was amazing. And I sat in the class one day and did a drawing, and the teacher in front of the class said, look here, what you just did in this class in a few hours takes some people hundreds of hours to complete. Don't let anybody charge you differently for your time. Just because somebody says, well, it took me 100 hours to do this, you only take 2 hours to do work equally good, if not better. And he's actually said that I had lived lifetimes to be able to draw that way, and to be able to perform and execute my mission in that way, and that's not valuable, to say the least. And I give you that word because I will also say there's a lot of work that I have done that I have I realize now it's just not necessary. Like, it was then, it was necessary for me to do then, but at this point for my life, like certain emotional expressions, I don't feel the need to be as rebellious in the same way, in the same, I guess, loud way maybe, but but I don't know what I'm getting at with that. I think that, like, what I'm getting at with that maybe is my values have changed, and so what I value has changed, and the truth is if anything, if you want to remain good at anything, you have to keep doing it. Like, you're not going to, you know, that's amazing. Like, when it comes naturally and that stuff comes out, it's like that stuff is a godsend, and that's like, you know, it's pretty amazing, because a lot of people do work really hard to get a lot of, you know, work done that comes naturally to others, and but you do have to continue to practice in whatever it is that you find yourself practicing, and I feel like I've had to learn that the hard way. I definitely have had to learn that the hard way, because things, yeah, because of the ease that things have come to me in certain ways, it's made me able to procrastinate. But now I see the value in, you know, just doing things like 5 minutes a day. Like, you just, like, if you're into writing, like, write for 5 minutes a day, put it away and never look back. Like, just, that will add up. That does add up. Because it helps with, like, nerves and anxiety, and if you feel prepared, it definitely helps when it comes to presenting yourself to others, or even to yourself. You know, it's crazy, but yeah, there's definitely a line where you can overcharge. You know, it might be valuable to you, but have no meaning. Like, it's like a pair of jeans that you've had for your whole life. You're like, I would charge a few thousand for those. You know, nobody's gonna pay that, but it's that. You go that far back with it, but yeah, getting realistic with what the cost of things are. You know, you just kind of, you have to learn, like, what materials cost, and, you know, stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be an emotional aspect of the creative process. It's actually a very realistic aspect of the creative process. So yeah, I didn't expect this video to go too long, but I hope that it's been informative in some way, or helpful to you. And as my friend said, who paid me for his wedding picture, it takes courage to be creative. This one's for you, Mike.